Hello, welcome to day 4 of the Labyrinth series. So I'm back again. The weather is cooler today and it's a little breezier, so I hope that there's not any sound of the breeze. But here we are, and today we are moving into the petal of abundance. So just to recap, we have arrived into the first petal of faith. Our Father in heaven, may your name be hallowed. Into the next petal of surrender. May your kingdom come. May your will be done. Into service, as in heaven, so upon earth. And today we come into abundance. Give us today our sufficient bread. Here, the line of the Lord's Prayer is a request, an ask. Give us this day our sufficient bread. I'm really struck by that we actually have to ask for abundance. Perhaps even more, we have to receive it. Kathleen McGowan says in The Source of Miracles that I'm drawing the references for this 6-petaled path to share with you from is, God wants you to have what you desire. He wants your greatest joy and abundance to come to you easily and without suffering. Lack is not your natural state. You feel it when you are spiritually unbalanced. Abundance is your natural state, and it comes to you effortlessly when you are in harmony with your higher power, your true God spark self, your divinity, and fulfilling your promises. She talks about the process of attracting abundance, which she says there is a cycle of 5 stages: gratitude, clarity, commitment, trust, and gratitude. For those just as we walk in. So gratitude, the first stage and the last stage, being in gratitude for what is, being in gratitude, a state of thankfulness, no matter how good it is, or maybe even how challenging it is, to be in gratitude, like, thank you. Here I am, having this experience, being alive to have this experience. And what if in all of that there's a deep inherent trust that everything that happens to you happens for you? That what if there is actually a greater plan? And while we may not always know what that is or be able to see the next step, that plan, that divine order of our lives is still there. That's something to actually consider. It can be a paradigm changer, can't it? That everything that happens to you happens for you. So if you miss the bus, or you scrape your knee, or you don't get to come and walk the labyrinth when you planned on it, but maybe there's another plan, a greater plan. Gratitude. Then, clarity. To ask for abundance, we actually have to know what we want. And this brings us back to knowing ourselves, allowing ourselves to be who we are, to tap into what is our sacred and courageous dream, to allow for our worth to simply be what it is, because here we are as a human in body. We're here in this life at this time, and just this is enough. And from being enough, we can drop in more deeply into what is it that I love? What am I here to create? What is my sacred and courageous dream? What lights me up, even if it makes no sense to anybody else, or maybe doesn't even seem to make sense to the world around me, but there's something about that seed of true desire, sacred desire, holy desire, that is part of the guidance to support you stepping onto your path and fulfilling your sacred task. And then with that is commitment. Committing with your full being, heart and soul, to thy will, to what is being asked of you. And committing that no matter what, no matter the turn in the path, no matter if it takes you what looks like toward your goal or away from it, that you are committed to creating and fulfilling that promise, that task. And then trust. Trust. Trusting in what you desire, trusting in what you're choosing, trusting in you, trusting in your relationship with God, with the divine within you, that you are guided, provided, and protected every step of the way. Here we are, in the center of the labyrinth, preparing to step into the petal of abundance with gratitude, clarity, commitment, trust, and gratitude. So what is abundance? I think of it as a dance, abundance, a fluidity, a movement, a motion, a flow. Think of the words sufficient bread, that we may have sufficient resourcing, bread, water to resource us in our lives. Right now I'm just feeling the wind as it actually caresses my body as I stand here in the petal of abundance. When we receive and experience abundance, we can experience a relaxation, a trusting in the divine flow of being received, of being held, of being nourished, of a greater force having our back and supporting us as we live our lives, make our choices. I know for me, I expand with abundance. I can contract out of fear if I'm afraid that I don't have it. But when I feel and receive and experience and create and generate abundance, when I have sufficient bread, I flourish, I thrive, I expand, I create, I trust my creativity. So what happens for you? What are you present to when you experience abundance, when you feel abundant? Do you feel sourced and resourced in a pool of miracles, delight, joy, richness, wealth? And what if this true abundance, this true wealth is actually within us and how we relate to ourselves? That we know in the core of our being that we are wealth, we are love, that we are worthy of receiving this abundance simply because we are here, embodied in this life. So much to question here and to receive, to invite in. Give us this day our daily bread. as I step back into the center of the labyrinth, being in gratitude for the petal of abundance, knowing that I am asking for and receiving abundance, and as I prepare to return, to walk from the center, I am reminded that as beneficial as it can be to be clear about what we want, what if what's also available to us is to surrender to God and ask for more? Not out of a not being in gratitude, but that we as humans only know so much. And what if there's something so much greater, that there's so much more available to us, and when we are too specific, when we say, I want this house, or this pair of shoes, or this specific thing to happen at this time, what if there's actually a greater plan that's so much more, so much beyond what we can even imagine? And when we're like, yeah, no, I want this pair of shoes because this is how I'm going to get to work, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how it is, when something else, a greater abundance and flow and wealth is available to us, and we cut it off. So where are you perhaps being too specific with what you want? And what if what's here for us to ask for isn't so much the specific thing, but the quality, the beingness of what it is you're asking for? Like asking for intimacy in your life, rather than I want this person to be in relationship with and he has to have these qualities. What if what we're asking for is genuine, loving intimacy, reciprocity? What if we're asking for joy, flow, and that how it shows up is actually not up to us? But this is where we get to surrender yet again to a greater good, a greater whole. And what if in asking for abundance, it actually brings up concern and fear? Like, can I receive this? And where do we actually thwart, defend, reject more ease, more joy and glory and abundance in our lives? And just to be aware of that and say, am I willing to choose something different? What will it take for me to actually ask for, generate, create, receive abundance in whole? So here, as I meander and as I wind myself back and forth in this labyrinth, see my shadow here against the dappley light, post-equinox, or not equinox, but post-eclipse, post this dark moon, where we've been asked to let go and surrender all of how we've identified ourselves. What if in terms of in asking for abundance, we're asking for a whole new expanded beingness within ourselves, beyond what we've been able to receive before and here in this time, and asking for sufficient good. We're also willing to surrender and have faith in ourselves, in our paths, in our journeys, and where we're called forth, where we're asked to let go and release, so that we can truly be